I'm called Mwesigwa, the former Uganda Cranes Captain, but now a retired sportsman. I started playing football at a tender age, I think at around 4 years, let me say so. Yeah, I was born and raised in Jinja through Mr. Vincent Mwesigwa and Catherine Rachel Namwaya. Vincent Mwesigwa was a sports officer in the army, in Jinja Barracks, and my mother Catherine Rachel Namwaya was a nurse in Jinja Hospital. Why have I talked about that is I wanted to show you exactly where the love for the game started from. I've said my father was a sports officer in the army, so that means we used to have, equipment, I should say, that whenever the army could get those equipments, at some point they could reach home first before going to the barracks. So me, I started seeing a ball, right after maybe my birth, I should say so. When I started understanding, I could see balls around the home. Yeah, so I picked the interest, I think, from there, and the fact that my father was also a footballer, though he played for a school. Jinja SS was a school team player. So the fact that we had equipments at home, balls and stuff like that. So every morning, whenever he could wake up, as a sportsman, he could jog around and kick around the ball. So I think I picked the interest from there, and also developed the love for the game. So I played football in my primary, actually in P5 at St. Mwesigwa Primary School. That is when I started playing like real competitive football, for the school. Then I went all the way up to secondary and college. Yeah, so I started football, at a tender age of 4 years. Yeah, so I chose football as a kid just for the love of the game. But again, when I grew up, I developed that mentality of maybe professionalism and maybe seeing football as something that can make me earn a living in future. Yeah, that was after secondary, and I was like, what, I think I can take on football as my career professionally. Oh, I think I would be a doctor. That is what I can say. Why? Because I've told you I was born through a mother who was a nurse, and so this mommy of mine had drug shops all over in Jinja. She had one, so we could go in holidays and sometimes help her in the drug shop. So I got to learn more about medicine also. So if I had not played football, I'm very sure I would have gone in for medicine. At some point, it is luck. Yeah, because many people do sports, but a few excel in those disciplines. So I would say one is luck. Then another one probably, when you're playing football, or when let me talk about football. Because I played football up to professional level, playing outside the country, and so it goes along with education. These days football is all about science. A lot of science is included in the game, and of course science is done, on board. On the pitch you go on to do practicals. So if you're not accustomed to the blackboard, you find it very hard for you to get used and to get right what is called professional football and the tactics, because they're being done on board. So I think education at some point is what maybe lacks in some soccer players who fail to make it into higher ranks. Let me talk about the youngsters in my own country, Uganda. One, they should take education serious, because education and sports, they go hand in hand. You can't excel in sports in this era now, with a lot of science and stuff like that, if you're not educated. Yeah, so one, they should not leave school, continue studying, get to the levels they can get to. Then if maybe football is at their exposure, that probably it is what they can take on as their careers professionally, then they go on with that, but with education. I've achieved a lot of things. One, I would say I am who I am now because of football. Actually, that is the best achievement, that being recognized. I'm recognized all over the country, in Uganda here, and in the world. There is no country where I can go now and maybe I fail to be welcomed, I should say. I only mention Mwesigwa, a former footballer, retired sportsman now, and people will go and say, oh, this is the guy, so I can't get any problem anywhere, So the first achievement is recognition. Then the next can be maybe accumulating some wealth. Yeah, because to be honest with you, whatever I have has been through football. Yeah, I think those are the key achievements. Not now. That mentality was before. Now I'm very sure every person all over the world recognizes football as a serious profession, because they are examples to see and look up to. Like for example in Uganda now, would you tell anybody that football is not a serious profession after seeing Mwesigwa the way he is now? Yeah. So to me, I think those people, whoever takes football as a non-serious profession, I should say is wrong. Football is a serious profession, and you can earn a living out of it. You can get recognition and can live a good life, through football. Oh yeah, that question is so funny. Why? I look young. That is what I can say. I look young, but I'm an old person. I retired at the age of 34. I don't think that is an early age. Why? Because we are being advised when you clock 30, you start thinking of retirement. So I retired at 34. I don't think I retired at an early age. Yeah, so it is only that maybe my appearance looks like somebody who is still young, energetic, who can do it, who can play football. But I was aged by the time I retired, and I retired a honest man. That is what I can say, and a happy one. Why? That I had really exhausted whatever I had in my legs. That is what I can say. I'm one person, one football player. I will give example in Uganda, who has never been seen on a bench at any one time. Imagine, I started playing the Super Division in 1999. That is when I started playing Super Division football. Then I went all the way up to 2016 when I retired. Imagine, supposing you're playing every season, maybe 40 games. So 40 times 16, how many games are those? 40 times 16. So to me, I think I played enough football. Yeah, I played enough football, and I got satisfied with what they call football. So and retiring at 34, to me, I think it was just very okay. Played a lot of games, never been a substitute player, never been on a bench. I could play 90 minutes all the games, actually. So to me, I think it was the right time for me to retire, because I had exhausted everything in my legs. I started those football academies. I have two actually, one in Jinja and one in Wachiso. But I started them because of the love of the game. Why? Because I myself was an example of a footballer, who has achieved from football. And so I thought even other footballers, the youngsters, could also follow the same trend. That is why I said I should give them platform by opening up those academies. They exercise their talents, execute them, develop them, and probably become important people in the game. Yeah, so I think that is the reason as to why I opened up those academies, just to nurture talents and get the future of football in Uganda. Yeah, the difficulties, I would say, when you're starting playing football, more so in these countries, I don't want to normally mention third world, but it is what we are. You know, I need to give a respect to my country, but in third world countries, you find it very hard for kids to develop their talents and maybe probably get into the game to higher levels. Why? At some point, you don't have equipment, even the money itself, salaries and maybe allowances, they don't come, you know. So it takes a heart to really persevere all these hardships. And you know, when you choose to play football, you know, you choose to play it with all your heart and you utilize all the time, you know. That means you won't be able to even go and maybe do some other job and stuff like that. You're always on football because football takes, you know, a lot of time. So you find it so hard for if you don't have a heart, you know, to persevere and you know, continue working without the equipment and without pay, you know, it may always be very hard for you. Yeah, so those are the challenges, I should say. Support financially and with the facilities lacking. I should say, you know, football is run by money. That is what I would love to say. And you always see every developing league will always have money in it. And how does this come about? It comes about through sponsorship. Yeah, sponsorship. In those leagues you see that are developed, there are many sponsors, very many sponsors, you know, injecting in money. So you find it so hard in Africa. But to those countries in Africa, maybe Egypt and stuff, like even South Africa, you're seeing their leagues are growing because of the sponsorship in them. Yeah, so for these countries like Uganda and maybe Rwanda is getting there, but Uganda, Tanzania, different Tanzania is getting there, maybe Burundi, you know, and these other countries, you see, the level is still down because the sponsorship is not big in their leagues. Yeah, so to me, it is sponsorship, and when the sponsorship comes in, that means clubs will get money to run the, you know, their clubs very well, smoothly. Oh, the Dreamchasers.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I would say if you really know what you want, you know, inspired by some of us actually. I would say I'm an inspiration to those young stars that would love to play maybe football to those levels. So just get focused, get determined, no matter the hardships, you know, because I'm very sure if you're determined and looking forward to achieving what you really want to achieve, you can't fail. Yeah, so it is all about putting there a lot of efforts, and maybe, because I told you, there is luck in football. So what I would say, maybe as we wind up, is that put everything in the hands of God, and I'm very sure you can't fail. Yeah, work hard, believe in God, and the rest will come your way.